My name is Debayan Roy and I represent the Graduate Management Admission Council. And today it is an absolute pleasure for us to welcome and have Dr. Vishal Talwar with us. Dr. Vishal Talwar is the director at IMT Ghaziabad. And sir, I'm sure our audience would love to know more about you. So if you could just help us understand a little bit more about yourself, we will take this forward from there.
Very kind of you, Debayan. Thank you so much for the opportunity today. More about me. Well, I'm a career academic, been one for the last 21 years. Before that, I was in the industry, marketing, advertising. Moved on to academia, did my doctorate abroad at Manchester. Thereafter, had stints in different university setups in the UK as a faculty of marketing academic. Been at places such as London School of Economics, Henley Business School, Manchester Metropolitan, these different places, and somewhere 10 years before, or having spent a good amount of time in the UK, decided to come back. And the reason why I came back was because I wanted to be into institution building. India gave you a greater opportunity for something like that. I've been now an administrator for the last 10 odd years and been enjoying the ride so far. Been at IMT Ghaziabad for a little bit more than 2 years. So this is a little bit about me.
Lovely. And I would like to share that it's not always that we have such eminent people come back to our country, and thank you for contributing to the development of our country as well.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I think we all need to do a bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations on the latest Financial Times rankings for IMT Ghaziabad. It is truly an announcement for IMT Ghaziabad to arrive on the global stage. What is your take on the rankings that have now come out, and where do you see IMT Ghaziabad now go from here on?
Well, thank you so much. I think this is obviously all due to our faculty, our students, everybody else who's part of the learning experience here. The FT Masters ranking was a long time coming. This is something that is essentially a feather, in the cap of everybody involved at IMT Ghaziabad. What does it indicate, right? What it indicates essentially is that we have the right ingredients, the right kind of pedagogy, the right kind of career progression, the right kind of, let's say, I won't use the word formula, but the right kind of input to be able to ensure that the reason why we exist as a management institution, with the core role of being able to create ethically minded business leaders of the future, we're giving in the right kind of learning, we're giving in the right kind of thought processes, we're giving in the right kind of challenges for them to succeed well. If you look at the Financial Times Masters rankings, what do they look at? They, apart from many other things, they look at very progressive elements there, progressive measures. One is, what are your alumni doing over a period of time? What's their acceleration? What's their growth in terms of salaries? What's their growth in terms of job roles? And I'm rather happy to state that if you look at the rankings per se, we are in the top 100. But if you look at alumni career progression over a period of time, we are actually in the top 20 in the world. And that's something that gives us more stimulation, that gives us more motivation to carry on what we're doing. Apart from that, if you look at what Financial Times measures you on, is your diversity, is the fact that are you sustainable from an environmental perspective. I'm also happy to state that the Financial Times actually recognized the fact that IMT Ghaziabad has a gender parity as far as faculty are concerned, and there's only one other school that has a 1:1 ratio as far as male and female faculty is concerned. Of course, this is a continuous improvement process, right? This is a process where we continue, we will. This is only the tip of the iceberg. It helps us motivate ourselves, it helps us push our own selves more, it helps us want to achieve higher goals, and that's what you'll see IMT Ghaziabad doing going forward.
Congratulations again. It's honestly a win for the entire nation when such eminent institutions get ranked amongst some of the global stalwarts?
Well, I think it's about time. We know management education in India has been there for the last many odd years, right? 1950s, 1960s, when the first management institutions came along. We came along in 1980, right? And our core goal was to be able to provide practice-driven learning in the classroom. Sri Mahendranath, when he founded this institution, his core goal was to be able to create practice rich learning in the classroom, so that the application becomes better, there's more meaningful employment, there's more meaningful change and transformation that we see in the industry. So that was a core goal, and I think we'll carry on in that direction going forward.
With GMAT being the global standard when it comes to management aptitude, and I know that IMT Ghaziabad is one of those institutions that accepts and takes the GMAT score into consideration when it comes to assessing a student's ability to enter such an esteemed organization. How do you feel GMAT contributes to the overall academic process as well as the selection process for IMT Ghaziabad?
For the last good number of years, we've actively looked at GMAT applicants. Of course, during COVID, we noticed a larger base of applicants who applied to IMT Ghaziabad, and we're rather happy about it. Because for various reasons, right? The GMAT applicants, are just like our CAT applicants, our ZAT applicants, our GMAT applicants. They all come in with certain characteristics. And if I look at GMAT applicants, their aspirations, their orientations, their perspectives, their holistic reflective capabilities, their what I would call as globality in a way, they're rather strong on that. And I think if I look at the metrics with respect to career progressions as well, a lot of our GMAT applicants have also done very well in that regard. So I think for us, we've been inviting GMAT applicants for some time. We're actively wanting to increase our base of GMAT applications. And as things such as what we just talked about, let's say Financial Times rankings, our Indian management institutions, and let's say they're standing at the global level, you'll see a lot more of the GMAT applicants from India, and in fact even from abroad, wanting to look at management education within the Indian context. And I think this is just the beginning. We would like to do more. We would like to engage more with the GMAT applicants. Yeah. We would like to give them a glimpse of the kind of learning that happens at our institution, the kind of cases, the kind of simulations, the kind of pedagogy that we adopt is something which is comparable to a lot of other institutions that they have set their minds on.
If a student wants to apply to IMT Ghaziabad via their GMAT scores, could you help us understand the application process a little bit more?
Our application process is largely the same, irrespective of whether it's a CAT, whether it's a ZAT, or whether it's a GMAT. So IMT Ghaziabad essentially accepts these three comparative scores. So the process is very similar. Of course, with GMAT, you have a certain timeline in terms of when you submit your GMAT scores. There's a certain validity period that we have for GMAT applicants. But it's about going into the website, going into the admissions portal, applying over there, filling in your scores as soon as you get them. And of course, thereafter, the entire process of interviews, the selection, and in this case, this year onwards, we've moved completely offline again for our interview process. And I think in the last three and a half odd years, we were largely doing the process online. And I think this time what we decided was, hey, let's go out there. Let's go to 14 cities all across the country, make ourselves accessible, get our faculty out there to be able to once again bring back the offline orientation to our selection. So all the GMAT applicants out there, if you would like to go to our website, imt.edu, the entire application process is rather easy. I would recommend checking that out and then making your decisions.
So if I am a GMAT applicant or if I am any applicant, could you help me with a little bit insider information as to how can I make my application stand out?
Well, I think it's important that there's no insider information that I would like to give, but I think be true to yourself is what I would essentially mention. If you've had a certain work experience, if you have proof for that, if you've got certain other experience that you've gained, it is important to tell us about it, right? Because for us, your leadership qualities right now and your leadership qualities over a period of time, how we can possibly help you in that transformation process is important for us to understand, right? It is important for us to understand not only your academics, but it's also important to understand whether me as an institution or we as a faculty can help you move from point A to point Z, right? If I can call it that, or Z. So it's important that you don't take the application process lightly. Don't take the application process as another process of, okay, I just need to put my name in, put in some details. But use the application to be able to then demonstrate your entire skill base, right? Which you can then possibly accentuate further, you can manifest further, you can explain further during the offline interview. So I think if you have work experience, if you have other accomplishments, if you have, let's say, awards, if you have honors, if you have been at a certain level as far as sports is concerned, anything else from a national, international perspective, it's important that you bring that all out into the table, because these are all indicators to your ability to perform well once you go into, let's say, the corporate or the real world. So it's important that you give the application a serious try.
To our audience, please be authentic and truthful in your entire application process. I think that's one of the most important aspects when it comes to making a successful application.
Yes, I agree. I know at this time of the year, there are a lot of thoughts, hey, this is going to be a big process, I have to prepare for my GMAT as well. But I think giving a good GMAT is half the battle. The other half of the battle is your signal to your prospective institutions about who you are. And I think you summarize it very well by saying, be authentic. I kind of went all over the place, but the word authentic is the crux.
With that being said, could you also help us understand a little bit more about the various programs that are offered by IMT Ghaziabad?
We have various programs under the postgraduate program in Diploma in Management, right? So the PGDM. So we have a PGDM Core or PGDM General. We have a PGDM Marketing. We have a major in Finance. We in the last few years, we also have a major in Banking and Financial Services. And we also have a dual country program, right? And this dual country program is a program which is essentially designed for people who are looking at transcending across two different countries while studying, right? So 1 year you spend in Ghaziabad, the other year you spend in Dubai, a calendar year, I mean. And all these programs have a particular fulfillment, right? So, for example, the PGDM specialization in marketing, right? That's a program which essentially prepares you for marketing-oriented careers, business development-oriented careers. Your finance, which prepares you for certain kinds of finance careers. You have the banking and financial services, and let me tell you, that's a program that we've seen a lot of traction on. We've seen a lot of students inquiring about the banking and financial service program. And of course, we have the dual country program. If you're looking at building cultural dexterity, if you have your, if you want to in the future, through IMT or otherwise, if you want to work abroad, possibly in the Middle East, and then go much beyond there, dual country program with the kind of international faculty that teach you across, whether that be in India, whether that be abroad, while you're in Dubai, will be able to help you in that direction, will be able to shape you in that particular direction. So all these programs exist in our portfolio of postgraduate management programs.
For somebody who has spent a lot of time abroad and then having come back to the country and contributing to the economy, I'm sure there are a lot of young individuals who are out there who are in various different international destinations and are looking to come back to India. Could you help somebody understand who is based out of an international location How can IMT Ghaziabad add value to their career aspirations if they choose to come back here?
Obviously India, is in a good place right now in terms of the kind of vibrancy in the economy, in terms of the growth, in terms of the trying to secure in a way its rightful place, in the global ecosystem. And I think that also gives the opportunity for a lot of aspirants who would like to get a taste of management education within in India, but not necessarily within the Indian context only, right? So we encourage applicants from abroad who to take the GMAT and look at India as a very viable and strong option. If you look at the nature of the curriculum, if you look at, let's say, how Indian management education has evolved over a period of time, it's not about IMT Ghaziabad only, right? A lot of the faculty, who teach here have been trained in the best places in India as well as abroad, right? So when you've when faculty and other people as a part of that whole ecosystem have been able to delve into, let's say, the American system, into the European system, into the Indian system, and I think they're able to give you the right balance of how management education looks like in the longer term. Right now, if you look at aligning that with what I would call as the Indian knowledgement system, right? Indian in the Indian ethos, or let's say the kind of knowledge that resides in the Indian context, I think that gives someone a potent combination, of insight, of case stories, of practical applications to be able to do rather well, whether they move back abroad after doing their management education in India as well. So I would strongly encourage a lot of applicants who may be of Indian origin, who may not be of Indian origin, to use your test mechanism to be able to apply to places like IMT Ghaziabad, because I think the kind of learning that exists, the kind of personalization, the kind of engagement that we provide, the kind of curriculum that is able to pick the best from different contexts and different parts of the world will definitely enable a lot of foresight. It will definitely enable a lot of intellectual curiosity. It will definitely be able to kind of bring in a lot of deeper conceptual development to the fore. So I think I would strongly encourage a lot of applicants who are looking at options, whether that be in Europe, whether that be in the Middle East, whether that be in the US, to also look at an option, let's say for example the PGDM dual country program, wherein you study for a period of time in India, whether you study for a period of time in Dubai, use that as a launch pad to then move on to greater things.
Would you help us understand a little bit about your outgoing batches? How has performance for them been? And if there are any notable alumni that you would want to talk to us about?
If I address your first question, if you're talking about performance, let's say in the last few years, and if you just measure performance based around placement, right, or around the kind of roles that students get once they graduate from here, we've noticed almost a 40% upward traction in, let's say, the packages or the salaries for our students in the last 2 years. Now that bodes very well, for us as an institution, but there's a long way to go, right? There's a lot more that needs to be done. We need to be able to expand on the nature of the job roles to be able to move further up. Salary is just one parameter, right? I think it's just one indicator in my opinion, in our opinion, but there's much more that we need to be ideally looking at. What's happening in the classroom, what kind of content that we are delivering, how have we been able to bring in, let's say, blended learning approaches into the classroom, how we've been able to become consistent in our engagement with the students over a period of time. At the same time, and responding to your second question about alumni, we have 17,000 alumni, in India as well as abroad, right? So I think they've been making the institution proud. They've been doing what they're supposed to be doing. They are people who are being able to create economic impact in the world as as corporate leaders, as institution builders, as as entrepreneurs as well. Some of them have moved on to other kind of positions, even NGOs for that matter. And I think so naming a few, well, I mean, I'll just name a few who are in my recent memory right now. Like tomorrow we have Mr. Nilendra Singh, who's General Manager Adidas India. He's coming along for the Sri Mahendranath annual lecture. We have people such as Mr. Ankit Agarwal, who's the CEO and founder of Unstop, which used to be called Dare to Compete. We have Mr. Gupta, who's Akash Gupta. He's the founder of Zip Electric. We have many others. I think it'll be unfair to name a few only, because all of them are important to us, right? And these are all people who've been there. I've talked to so many people in the last many months, in the last 2 years that I've been there. We've reached out to them. I notice a certain amount of buoyancy. I notice a certain amount of wanting to achieve much more, and a lot of them have already. Whether it's the FMCG world, whether it is the technology world, whether it is consulting, whether it is anywhere else, entrepreneurship, I think they're all making their mark. And I think what we are trying to do right now at IMT Ghaziabad is to further engage with them. Not only in let's say a one-way relationship, right, wherein it's not just about alumni back to the institution, but it's about the institution to the alumni and alumni to alumni, which is also very, very important. So we've had alumni meets and summits in various places. Recently we had one in Dubai, we had one in London, we had one in New York, we had across all over in India, Mumbai, Bangalore. It's so it's so satisfying or fulfilling in a way to see them grow and evolve over a period. But there's a lot more that we can do together, and that's something that we are currently focusing on.
I think the biggest advantage is the quantum of community that IMT has been able to build across the last so many years, and this community is so impressive and it's so diverse that I'm sure that anybody who is looking to be associated with IMT even in future and in so many future years coming, they will benefit a lot with this network.
One of the major elements of being at institutions such as IMT Ghaziabad is of course the impact of the alumni and possibly the network. So I think if you're looking at it from that angle, if you're looking at it from that parameter, of course, yes, there is, we have that legacy, we have that lineage, and we also have a very cohesive ecosystem, right? Current students, alumni, how we engage with each other, how we build, let's say, the IMT Ghaziabad of the future, right? So there's a lot of conversation around that, a lot of leadership summits that we do to make ourselves meaningful in the long term. And I believe the alumni play a major role in the progressive growth of IMT Ghaziabad as we go forward.
And to conclude, with the thousands of GMAT applicants waiting in the pipeline, is there anything else that you would want to share with them?
I know that GMAT had made certain changes to its testing pattern, and when we heard about these changes, when me and my team, rather progressive in its orientation. And I think the first thing that a GMAT applicant should do is obviously focus a lot on being able to ensure a good score in the GMAT, and at the same time look at their options in a more holistic manner. You're not designing careers, let's say, for the next 3, 4, 5 years post finishing your degree or your diploma or whatever. You're essentially trying to look at, hey, how do I now spend the next 30, 40 years of my professional life in a certain way. And India is going to be the focal points where a lot of individuals, irrespective of whether they are in India or whether they're abroad, whether they're from India or they're not from India, India will be one of the major focus areas from, let's say from an economic standpoint and beyond the economic standpoint as well. So I think when you're trying to look at what your options are, when you're trying to look at the right kind of engaged, modern management learning, India has come a long way, right? And I think all your GMAT applicants should be looking at India, not only as a let's say one term of exchange or one semester or whatever else, or 10 days of coming along and observing how business may be done, how our culture exists, but they should be looking at India as a strong, viable option to participate in the growth that we will see, with India. It's at the cusp essentially. So I would encourage a lot of them to be able to look at, the Indian context for good management learning and for, longer careers going forward.
With this, we come to the end of our conversation with Dr. Vishal Talwar. Thank you so much for your time, sir, and I'm sure everybody who has been a part of this conversation would have benefited immensely from the knowledge and experience that you bring. Thank you so much again.
I hope so. Thank you very much, Divayan. Thank you to GMAC as well for giving us the opportunity to have this conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you.